Welcome to the virtual Mind Walk lecture series. We're so happy to have you. And thank you to those of you who have been really faithful at attending all of these lectures. It's been neat to see you attend time and time again. We've been having a blast with it. So the virtual Mind Walk program is underwritten by the Thomas E. and Mary Kathryn Eltzroth Fund and supported by the Central Coast State Parks Association. At the link you see on the screen, you can find the full list of lectures available, and you can also find links to the recorded programs that we've already done. So take a look, there's lots of interesting topics. And I think with that, let me go ahead and introduce our speaker today. His name is Ryan. Ryan grew up in Ventura and graduated from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo in 2010 with a degree in biological sciences with a focus in veterinary science and wildlife biology. His senior thesis was titled, oh shoot, Ryan, yeah, I was gonna ask you how to even pronounce that.
It's a physiognomy of kangaroo rat burrows. Yeah.
Thanks, Ryan.
Fancy word for the habitat type of the kangaroo rat burrow.
Thank you. Ryan began working with the Plover and Tern program in 2010 while completing his degree. His hobbies include hiking and spending time at the beach, playing Frisbee with his dog, and he loves living here on the Central Coast. So that's Ryan. You guys take it away.
Thanks, Mallory. Yeah, so like Mallory said, my name's Ryan Slack. I work as an environmental scientist at Oceano Dunes District. Began working as a plover and tern monitor here in 2010 and graduated from Cal Poly with a degree in biological sciences. I love working at parks. It's a wonderful place to work because we're all good friends here and we're all passionate about conservation. I'm excited to showcase one of our plovers here and all the hard work we do using this case study. It's one of our oldest breeding birds, red, orange, red, who is 11 years old now and has been at Oceano Dunes almost as long as I have. All right, first, I'd like to give you a little bit of information about Oceano Dunes District and where it is located. Here we are in the sand dunes of southern San Luis Obispo County, California. This snowy plover range map is made by Cornell and shows where snowy plovers live and breed. The Pacific Coast population includes just those within 50 miles of the coast. They are called Western snowy plovers, Chardrias novosus, and are considered federally threatened. Western snowy plovers, the total population estimate from 2019 was less than 2,300 breeding adults. These plovers range from Oregon to Mexico. You can see that Oceano Dunes District in southern San Luis Obispo County lies at about the midpoint of the range. The Guadalupe-Nipomo Dunes complex is approximately 18 miles of shoreline stretching through San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara counties. Oceano Dunes District is about 8 miles of this complex. This is the second largest dune system in California. Sand dune ecosystems worldwide host rare species and dynamic habitats. Oceano Dunes is a member of the Dunes Collaborative, a partnership between federal, state, private, and nonprofit organizations committed to the restoration of the Guadalupe-Nipomo Dunes complex, recovery of threatened and endangered species, and providing quality visitor experiences of this unique and fragile ecosystem. Oceano Dunes District is made up of 2 park units, Pismo State Beach and Dunes State Vehicular Recreation Area, also called ODS VRA. Altogether, the district covers about 5,000 acres. Seasonally, from March 1st to September 30th, approximately 300 acres in ODS VRA are closed to visitors for the sake of nesting threatened western snowy plovers and endangered California least terns in the seasonal exclosure. Let's go over some of the regions we'll be talking about today. The seasonal exclosure consists of what we call the 6, 7, 8, and boneyard exclosures in Northwest Oflaco. These are not physically separate, but are protected by coyote-proof fence. No visitors are allowed in the exclosures or on the adjoining shorelines. South Oceano only has symbolic fence. People can walk, fish, picnic along the shoreline. It is for day use only, no camping, and visitor vehicles and dogs are not allowed in this area. This is most similar to Morro Bay's protective fencing for those who are more familiar with this site. This is an example of coyote-proof predator fence. Somehow this coyote ended up trapped inside the exclosure. You can see the vehicle tracks on the outside, which is our side of the fence. And the fence is about 6 feet tall and the bottom is buried to prevent coyotes from digging into the exclosure. Here's the fence that stretches out into the ocean. It's to keep visitors from going on the shoreline. It has many signs and is pretty much impossible to miss, even at low tide. Visitors trespassing on the closed shoreline during the breeding season can get a citation from law enforcement. In South Oceano, rope is stretched between metal posts with signs attached telling people that they are not allowed in the foredunes or anywhere that plovers are nesting. Least terns do not nest here. Oceano Dunes is unique in California in that we have off-highway vehicles on the shore. We are mandated to find a balance between camping and riding and protection of natural and cultural resources. People have been riding on the beach here for over 100 years. In this historic photo, you can see a pier that no longer exists and a pavilion which is gone, but used to be on Pavilion Hill, a vegetated area about 2 miles south of the Pier Avenue entrance to the park. We balance riding and resource protection by closing off sensitive areas to riding or to all visitors. The seasonal closure of the nesting areas allows for both recreation and conservation in the same space. Here you can see where we historically had a division of visitors to the nesting area at Post 6, or about 3 miles south of Pier Avenue. Beginning in 2020, this was moved north to just south of Pavilion Hill, giving the plovers more space during the breeding season. During the non-breeding season, beginning October 1st, the exclosure fencing is removed and people can drive and camp in that area. Plovers flock during the winter and move anywhere they like. We try to find the flocks and put up signs to warn visitors to drive with caution, like the sign in this image. Now that you know a little bit about our site, we can get to the best part. I'm delighted to introduce to you our star of this presentation, Red, Red, Orange, Red. Red, Red, Orange, Red is one of the oldest birds we can track at Oceano Dunes. At 11 years old, he is well older than the typical plover lifespan of about 3 years. His story begins in 2010 when red over red on his left leg and orange over red on his right leg was born at Oceano Dunes July 18th in South Oceano. To make this an easier story to tell, we're going to rename him Red during this presentation. So each season, we have hundreds of carefully tracked nests. Each egg, chick, juvenile, and adult is monitored, and all the information is stored in a comprehensive data system. His parents' nest, SP 123-10, was a natural debris that helped camouflage the eggs. His mother was unbanded, and his father was banded pink over violet on the left and white over green on the right, and was born at Oceano Dunes in 2008. After the 3-egg nest was found in South Oceano, about 25 feet east of the symbolic fencing, staff built a 10-foot by 10-foot single nest exclosure, or SNE, around it, burying the bottom and attaching netting to the top to keep the nest safe from predators. Permanent staff floated the eggs to find out when they might hatch, so the master bander could be present to band the chicks. The angle and height at which the egg floats changes in a predictable way as the egg approaches its hatch date. It takes about 5 days to lay the 3 eggs that comprise a complete clutch, which is then incubated by both parents until hatch. If monitors had found the nest at fewer eggs during the laying period, and then it went to 3 eggs, floating the eggs would not be necessary because after the 3rd egg is laid, the parents then incubate all 3 eggs for about 28 days, The female usually incubate during the day and the males at night. Coyotes and raccoon tracks were noted near the SNE, and large raptor tracks had been seen nearby as staff anxiously awaited hatch, checking the nest frequently from their vehicles. Raccoon tracks on the left have little fingers, and the coyote tracks on the right look similar to dog prints. All 3 chicks hatched and were banded with the same combination, red, red, orange, red. Each plover nest that hatches each season gets a unique band combination to be used on all chicks that hatch to that nest. This newly hatched plover nest of 3 chicks is about to get unique bands. Banding is key to tracking birds as chicks and into adulthood. Band sightings are shared by all teams along the Pacific coast, allowing sites to document survival and movement. Snowy plover chicks are considered precocial. This means that they capture their own food hours after hatching. They still need their parents for warmth to protect them from territorial plovers and predators. The shoreline is a busy place with gulls and other shorebirds, as well as other plovers and their broods. However, that's where the chicks need to forage on insects to eat and grow. The chicks were cared for by their father, brooding with him for warmth in between bouts of feeding in South Oceano shoreline. By August 10th, one of Red's siblings disappeared. His sibling could have been eaten by a predator, attacked and injured by another plover, or succumbed to cold or disease. Plover parents do their best, but the shoreline is a dangerous place for these tiny birds. You can see a father here with 8 legs, which means that he has 3 little chicks cuddled under his fluffy feathers, getting warmed up. We call it brooding. Male plovers have darker markings than females, which is how we tell them apart. You can see his black forehead and bold markings on both sides of his neck. After 28 days, on August 15th, Red and his remaining siblings fledged. They were able to fly and hang out in roosting flocks with other juveniles and adult plovers. This non-breeding or wintering flock moved around the shoreline. Here's a wintering flock roosting. They prefer to roost in depressions or behind rack out of the wind. On August 30th, in North Oceano, an unbanded male associated with chicks from nest SP-140-10 was seen attacking a red, red, orange, red fledgling to get it out of his territory. In September, a wintering flock containing red, red, orange, red was noted on the 17th. 11 plovers are foraging, then flew north when disturbed by a visitor and his dog. On September 28th, this video was recorded of a red, red, orange, red fledgling hobbling on its left leg. It was still able to fly and its fans were freely moving, and no foreign material was observed. The hobbling continued and was observed on the 1st and 7th as well. The bird was still able to fly and forage, so was left on the beach. This was most likely Red's sibling. Meanwhile, our hero likely was also seen on Mandalay State Beach in Ventura County in October 2010, on the 7th and the 20th. Both siblings were still alive, but wintering on separate beaches about 100 miles apart. Still in the wintering flock, on March 6th, red, red, orange, red was seen south of Grand Avenue Ramp in Oceano Dunes. In the breeding season of 2011, red was again spotted at Oceano Dunes in May and June as a breeding male. We cannot be sure which of the 2 siblings it is, as a place where a plover winters is not necessarily the place where it breeds. However, due to where Red likes to spend his winters, this is most likely the sibling who was not injured by the territorial male. Now, Red was pretty sneaky. He and his unknown mate hid their eggs so well that staff only found them once there were chicks on the shoreline. On June 21st, 2011, 3 very young chicks were found on the shoreline of North Oceano, with Red attending them. They were captured, banded red, red, orange, blue, and released. They were given the nest number SP-114-11. By June 26th, only 1 chick remained, but Red got little red, red, orange, blue to fledge. Monitors spotted this chick 11 times before confirming red, orange, blue fledged. After successfully fledging his chick, Red wintered at Hollywood Beach in Ventura County. In 2012, Red returned for the breeding season. First sighted in South Oceano, he was then frequently noted in North Oceano. Once again, his nest was not found before hatching. Clever guy. 3 very young chicks were found on the shoreline on August 15th, with Red attending. See the photo I took of our handsome hero and his tiny chick. This brood was given nest number SP214-12 and was only seen once. Unfortunately, they were not seen again to be banded and likely did not fledge. For 2013, he wintered again at Hollywood Beach in Ventura County and returned to Oceano Dunes to breed. This is a pair of plovers copulating or fertilizing eggs. Each of the 3 eggs is fertilized separately after a pair has chosen each other. This time, Red's nest was found in boneyard. You can see boneyard exclosure on this map. It is the pink polygon. The dark black line shows where predator-proof fencing is, so the west side is protected from coyotes, but the east side is not. However, the east side is closed to all visitors. Boneyard's shoreline is North Oceano shoreline. We can guess that Red's previous nests were likely in boneyard since we found him on the North Oceano shore with his chicks. In 2013, he was seen copulating with pink violet, yellow female while they laid their 3 eggs. 2 chicks hatched, were banded green, 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 and he fledged both. For this nest, SP59-13, 1 egg without cracks was abandoned post-term. Some quick clarification. Nest checks and brood sightings are almost always from a vehicle using a scope or binoculars. The vehicles act as a blind and birds behave naturally. We aim to check nests at least daily. Since broods are mobile, we don't usually see them daily, although we try if the shoreline is available, depending on the tides and weather conditions. This nest had 31 nest checks and 14 brood sightings. Red wintered again on Hollywood Beach, Ventura County. Then he returned in 2014 to nest in boneyard at Oceano Dunes. He was associated with 2 nests with the same female, violet green, violet red. Both of his nests hatched. His first nest, SP76-14, hatched 3 chicks, all banded violet, violet, white, blue, but none fledged. 2 chicks were last seen at 17 days old with red. Here is what older chicks look like. These are 19 days old. Still cute, but no longer a cotton ball and Q-tips. This nest was checked 18 times and the brood was seen 4 times. His second nest, SP172-14, hatched 3 chicks and 2 successfully fledged, banded green, green, white, green. This nest was checked 16 times and the brood was seen 12 times before fledging. We don't have records of where Red wintered, but in 2015, he returned to Oceano Dunes to breed in boneyard with his new lady love, brown, blue, pink, green. They had 2 nests together. Sadly, SP34-15's 3 eggs were depredated by an unknown avian predator when they were close to hatching. This image is of an avian depredation at a nest. You can see the clumped sand by yolk and shards of eggshell. This nest was checked 11 times. Red and brown, blue, pink, green tried again. SP121-15's 3 eggs all hatched and red fledged all 3 green, aqua, orange, yellow chicks. This nest was checked 12 times and the brood seen 9 times before fledging. Wintering again on Hollywood Beach and returning to Oceano Dunes to breed in 2016, Red once again teamed up with brown, blue, pink, green female to nest in boneyard, SP8-16, successfully fledging 2 blue, blue, violet, yellow chicks. The nest was checked 28 times and the brood was seen 10 times before fledging. Of the 3 eggs, only 2 hatched. The 3rd egg was noted with a small, about 1.5 millimeter portion of shell missing. The membrane below the shell was still present, and no obvious cracks or tapping, which are signs of hatching, and so was abandoned post-term like the egg in this image. In 2017, Red wintered in Hollywood Beach, Ventura County again. He nested in Boneyard for the third consecutive season with brown, blue, pink, green. SP 25-17 found on April 3rd. The nest was abandoned. It was noted 3 eggs floated at 25 degrees, 9 millimeters, and 14 millimeters when found on April 4th. Female brown, blue, pink, green, not seen after abandonment on April 24th. Adult female mortality suspected. This nest was checked 37 times. Brown, blue, pink, green originally came from Vandenberg Air Force Base in Santa Barbara County from 2011. Rest in peace, brown, blue, pink, green, 2011 to 2017. Resilient Red nested again in Boneyard with an unknown female, SP 181-17. Sadly, in the course of laying the clutch, 2 eggs were depredated by a skunk, and the nest site was abandoned. This time lapse is showing a skunk depredating a different nest captured on a nest camera. The nest was checked 22 times. Red again wintered in Hollywood Beach. He returned in 2018 to nest in Boneyard with an unknown female. On April 29th, 1 egg was blown 6 inches from SP 47-18's nest bowl and mostly buried. I'm going to take a moment to tell you about how windy our site is. In this video, you'll watch the sand movement across the ground in a process called saltation. Persistent winds in late spring and early summer move masses of sand very quickly. This can lead to nests being buried or eggs blown away. In this time-lapse video of a nest camera, the wind blowing sand from top left to bottom right blows the eggs out from under his parent. The plover chases down the eggs and tries to keep incubating them. Monitors recovered and marked the eggs and reset it with the other 2 eggs. This egg hatched. 1 egg without cracks from hatching was abandoned post-term. Red hatched 2 chicks and fledged both. 1 banded blue, 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 red, and the other unbanded. We can be assured that this unbanded chick belongs to this nest as it was raised with its banded sibling and banded parent. This is an image of a nest with eggs marked. Return to the nest bowl. If the adults are attending the eggs, they will be turned and the marks will not be at the top anymore. This nest was checked 52 times and the brood was seen 20 times before fledging. Red's second nest of the season was in Boneyard with pink, green, pink, blue female. SP 159-18 hatched and fledged 1 unbanded chick from the 3 eggs. 2 eggs had unknown fate. This is a photo of that nest. It was checked 37 times and the brood seen 12 times before fledging. Guess who wintered at Hollywood Beach again? Red. In 2019, he nested in Boneyard with a different female, possibly banded violet, violet, blue, green in nest SP 76-19. This is an image of that nest. You can see the 3 eggs in the center of the image right next to a little plant. 1 chick hatched, was banded green, aqua, green, green, but did not fledge due to predation. On May 18th, a brewer's blackbird was observed pecking a 5-day-old green, aqua, green, green banded plover chick inside the North Oceano Dunes. The chick ran north and the blackbird followed it, picked it up, and then flew quickly out of sight with the chick in its bill. The chick was not seen again. Brewer's blackbirds had not been seen depredating chicks at this site in the past. Two eggs were abandoned post-term. This nest was checked 17 times and the chick seen 8 times before being taken by the blackbird. Our intrepid hero does not give up. It is unknown where Red wintered, but we can guess. He nested in Boneyard again in 2020. Red's first nest, SP96-20, was with blue on the left, green on the right female, hatched one chick of 3 eggs, banded violet, violet, green, orange. On June 9th, one egg went missing preterm. One egg without cracks was abandoned post-term. The nest was checked 25 times. The chick was not seen soon after hatch and was not seen to fledge, with only 3 sightings total. Red's second nest, SP208-20, also with blue on the left, green on the right female, hatched all 3 chicks. Only one chick was banded, green, aqua, green, orange. None were seen to fledge after 10 sightings. The nest had been checked 19 times. This video from a nest camera is of the 10-year-old father coming to his nest, SP208-20, where 2 chicks have hatched and 1 egg is in the process of doing so. You can see that he's an attentive father. Here are his 2 nest sites from 2020. Have you noticed his pattern? He has a territory he returns to each year. Remember his lady love, brown, blue, pink, green? She also liked to return to this region each year. We wouldn't know that plovers show this level of site fidelity if we did not band them. We also wouldn't know it was him wintering in Hollywood Beach each year without this unique band combo. He returned to Hollywood Beach to Oceano Dunes and was last seen on March 31st, 2021, west of North Oceano. Here's an image of North Oceano shoreline. This is regular stomping or feeding grounds, and he may nest in this general area again this year. We have not seen red, red, orange, red recently. However, it seems that he's dropped his orange band. A note from July 23rd, 2019 about him said, orange band is smaller, about 3/4 of the size. A male banded red, red, red was first seen on May 30th, 2021 at the same place where red, red, orange, red was last seen. He was seen foraging there again on June 4th, 2021. Then he was seen 27 times from June to July with 2 chicks assigned to SP198-21, which hatched from an unknown location about June 20th, 2021 to a green aqua, orange red female and red 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 male, both seen attending the chicks together. These chicks were banded green aqua, violet red, and both chicks fledged. The brewer's blackbirds are added again though. Here's the note from June 23rd. 2 unbanded chicks are with green aqua, orange red female west of North Oceano wood number 19. Male red 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 is also nearby. A male brewer's blackbird lands next to the brood and fights with the red 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 male, mutual aggression. The brewer's blackbird flies away and lands about 100 feet north of the brood, foraging with the female brewer's blackbird. The master bander walks out to band the 2 chicks at 9:25 a.m. with combo green aqua, violet aqua, and he estimates that they are about 3 days old. Red likely had another nest in boneyard or nearby, but most were depredated by raven or northern harrier earlier in the 2021 season, before adult bands could be confirmed. So his legacy was at least 16 nests, at least 15 fledglings, and at least 5 grand fledglings at Oceano Dunes, and potentially some at other sites. So Western snowy plovers and California least terns have the greatest fledging success at Oceano Dunes as compared to every other California state park. Nesting in Oceano Dunes is flourishing when compared to all other sites in California and along the west coast of North America. For Western snowy plovers listed as federally threatened, Oceano Dunes is critical for their success, fledging almost half of all fledglings for the entire state park system, which manages about 1/4 of the California coastline and 128 coastal park units, and providing habitat for 5% of all breeding adults on the Pacific coast of North America. We began monitoring Western snowy plover nests in our park district in 1992 and started GPSing the location in 1998. We also exclosed more area over time and restricted access to the shoreline. We have seen the number of nests and breeding adults increase until we seem to have hit our carrying capacity of about 200 breeding birds. We hope to keep improving our site to continue nesting success. We can't forget about least terns. Federally and state endangered California least terns also have a breeding colony in Oceano Dunes. We began monitoring their nesting in 1991. Here are all GPS least tern nests in Oceano Dunes District from 1998 to 2020. Least terns generally appear in early May and begin calling to each other and flying, looking for an appropriate place to establish their nesting colony. Within a couple of weeks, they come to a consensus and suddenly initiate nests concurrently. This is an adult least tern with a fish. It's a very elegant bird. Terns raise one brood each season, so they are very careful to select an optimal location. Oceano Dunes supports the only least tern colony in San Luis Obispo County. The next colony to the north is in San Francisco Bay. Oceano Dunes hosts 2% of all nesting pairs in California and fledges 2.5 times more terns per breeding pair than the state as a whole. Oceano Dunes stands alone as a colony for least terns in San Luis Obispo County. In this figure from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service 5-year review from 2020. Least terns, like plovers, also lay their eggs, usually 2 eggs, in the sand in a small depression called a scrape. They incubate for only about 21 days, and the eggs hatch, and our master bander bands the chicks with color combinations unique to each individual. The chicks can fly in about 3 weeks after they hatch or fledge after 21 days. Tern chicks are altricial and need to be fed small fish that the parents catch. Tern chicks hide from predators while they wait for their parents to return with fish. An adult least tern brings a small fish to its chick while its partner incubates the remaining egg. Male and female least terns look alike to us and share care for their eggs and chicks, so we don't necessarily know which is the mother or the father. Once the fledglings can fly, the parents teach them to fish. It is fun to watch them learn at the Oso Flaco Lake Boardwalk. You can see that these fledgling least terns wear their leg bands proudly. Without a doubt, the Plover and Tern program at Oceano Dunes is a success due to the following critical components. Nest protection. The seasonal exclosure, approximately 300 acres, is meant to be visitor and coyote proof. It is made of 2 layers of fencing, the bottom buried to prevent disturbance by vehicles, people, and predators. Signs warn people to stay out, and the fence prevents coyotes from jumping over or digging under it to find nests. Fences are put in and removed for the 300 seasonal acres every year and are in place from March to September 30th. In this photo, you can see staff installs fence for the seasonal exclosure. The shoreline is closed to all visitors. This now begins between mileposts 4 and 5 and extends to Oso Flaco Lake Boardwalk, about 3 miles. People on foot are perceived as a threat by nesting birds, and they flush. Brooding birds and their chicks will run away from the strolling people and could end up in territorial disputes with other plovers or get separated from each other. Symbolically fenced habitat in South Oso Flaco and Arroyo Grande Creek is meant to keep visitors and their dogs from stepping on nests or injuring birds. Next, we have habitat enhancement. The seasonality of the nesting exclosure means that for a portion of the year, visitors drive and camp on the seasonal exclosure region, reducing the amount of cover available that allows the birds to hide from predators. Habitat enhancement activities improve nesting conditions within the exclosure, adding natural debris to camouflage the nests and for chicks to hide within. Before nesting begins, the team places wood chips in large swaths throughout the exclosure with the help of the CCCs or California Conservation Corps. Large dump trucks help spread wood chips low on the beach, while smaller trucks can do so in the softer, dry sand. We also place wood branches as well, collected at the end of the season to be used again this next year. A very critical component of our program is daily monitoring by a large crew of trained and passionate staff. I'm in the back middle of this photo. Biologists are in the field year-round. During the breeding season, staff monitors the breeding birds 7 days a week from dusk until dawn. All collected notes are entered into a comprehensive database, and information is exchanged with all sites coastwide. In addition to monitoring, staff also rescues wildlife and answers visitor questions. Here's a rescued common murre. Visitors usually think these are penguins. We get them safely off the shore and into the hands of our local wildlife rescue organization, Pacific Wildlife Care, for rehabilitation. We also work with the Marine Mammal Center for triage of injured or sick marine mammals. Most of our monitoring is done from or within our vehicles. As counterintuitive as it seems, the vehicle driven carefully by trained staff acts as a blind and allows staff to closely observe the birds. The birds don't perceive the vehicles as threats and appear to behave naturally. Staff rarely walk since this causes more disturbance, instead mainly observing from vehicles using high-quality binoculars and spotting scopes. Vehicles on the shoreline are driven slowly waterward of the rack or seaweed line in sand that has been swept clean of debris by the outgoing tide. This way we can be sure not to run over any wildlife. Staff does not drive on the shoreline when the tide is too high to allow the safe corridor. This won't surprise you, but predators are the biggest threat to the nesting birds at this site and every other site. They eat eggs, chicks, juveniles, and adults. When incubating adults are particularly vulnerable. This graphic shows nest loss across the state park system in 2019 for snowy plovers. Predator management is a very critical component of our program at Oceano Dunes. Single nest exclosures can be built at individual nests to keep out many, but not all predators. Here's a circular single nest exclosure with the net top to keep predators away from the nest. These are only used for plover nests because plovers run rather than fly off their nests when a predator approaches. The fence is sized so that the plovers easily fit through the fence. Wildlife Services, contracted through USDA and other groups, is key to controlling predators through relocation or lethal removal of problem individuals. This is a trapped male juvenile northern harrier who will be relocated far, far away. Nest cameras are also helpful. This video was captured by a wildlife camera aimed at a nest. These cameras allow staff to see if a predator takes a nest or if the nest fails or hatches, as it did here, and allows identification of the unique bands on the parents' legs if they had been banded previously. They have long-lasting batteries and are left in place for a long time, with footage reviewed later or after the nest hatched or was lost. Nest cameras help us determine if a nest hatches or was taken by a predator, like this adult male northern harrier eating eggs at a nest. The adult plovers make alarm calls as they fly around, trying to distract the harrier while it eats their eggs. Without nest cameras, we would struggle to know who the predator was. The harrier is leaving footprints, but the parents tend to overtrack those when they come back looking for their eggs. So you've seen how important banding is for tracking birds. Only the master bander is permitted to band chicks. ODSVRA is allotted specific band combinations, allowing us to track if a breed fledges and to follow adult survival over time. Blue, blue, pink, yellow is ready to take on the world. In this video, adult least terns can be seen mobbing or dive bombing our master bander as he bands their chicks. His attention never wavers, and we are so grateful to have him on our team for so many years. The master bander is also permitted to band adults and juveniles in special cases. An injured adult may need to be tracked following rescue and rehabilitation. Fledglings raised in captivity need to be banded to track survival. Let's talk about rack and telitrids. Visitor vehicles driving along the shoreline reduce amount of rack or surf cast kelp and prevent establishment of telitrids or beach hoppers in the open riding area. This necessitates that the crew collect the fresh rack in the riding area and place it on the shoreline of the exclosure. We collect it by hand into trailers and distribute it in small piles on the exclosure shoreline. A staff adds telitrids to the rack, which are collected from nearby to bolster the food resource for the chicks. They add rack and telitrids to the shoreline throughout the breeding season when feasible. Telitrids, or beach hoppers like these, flies, beetles, and their larvae form the prey base for plovers. Sand pushes are also critical to maintaining our fence lines. It is no secret that Oceano Dunes experiences heavy winds from the northwest throughout the spring and early summer. This moves the sand quickly, and the exclosure fence can be buried or unburied over a few short hours. To keep the fence effective, we rely on heavy machinery driven by our maintenance staff to push sand back up against the fence. Facilities and maintenance staff also help maintain the fence and dig it out or add layers if it is becoming buried. In this image, monitors had checked the area near the fence for any nesting birds before approving a sand push and stay nearby to ensure no birds have then wandered back into the area. In summary, our methods have been reviewed and cleared by a technical review team, California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. We operate under recovery permit with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Our program is adaptive and conservative, and we regularly consult with the agencies and other sites. We could not be among the most successful sites, the range of both of these species, if we did not have this level of funding and careful management. You can look up our site and other sites required annual monitoring permits reports on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service website shown here. And with that, that concludes our presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Let's see, Ryan. We had a couple come in. One question. When you were discussing how you would give numbers of times the nests were checked, this person is asking, was that by your team or by the parents of the birds?
That's by our team. Yeah, that's all of our monitoring staff. We try to check nests daily, like I said before, and that's our monitoring staff going out in the vehicles using their binoculars and spotting scopes, trying to track each nest every day, hopefully.
Awesome. And then the next question, and I don't know how much you're going to be able to speak on this, but is a formal snowy plover program in place in Morro Bay?
Yeah, I haven't worked there, but I am familiar with their program. They do have a formal program. They act under the same kind of permits we do, with some exceptions since we're a drive-on beach and they aren't. But yeah, they definitely have a pretty thorough system in place, and they don't ban chicks, so that's like a big difference between our sites, but they do very similar things. And like I kind of said earlier, our southwest Flacco fencing, the symbolic rope fencing with eye rods, that's mostly what they use over there. They don't use the hard fencing like our seasonal exposure has to keep coyotes and other predators out.
Okay. And here's a good question too. How long have plovers used Oceano Dunes, and do most birds reach Red's age?
No, so most birds, I said it at the beginning really briefly, but it's average lifespan's about 3 years. So 11 years is pretty substantial. Like that's a very lucky bird to live that long. And what was the other part of the question? I was trying to remember.
Oh, oh, how long have plovers used Oceano Dunes? I guess as their nesting area.
Yeah, so I mean, historically, the birds nest throughout the range, the entire coastline of California, up and down the border, like through Mexico. So I mean, they've been around longer than we have. But yeah, they've nested here as long as we've managed the beach here and longer.
Okay, let's see. This person has a friend who lives more inland, like in the Central Valley area of Hanford, and she has seen plover nests and eggs in gravel on her property. Is there a species that lives more inland, Ryan?
Yeah, it's actually, there's a lot of killdeer at our site and also inland on gravel sections. There's inland populations of plovers as well, but more than likely those are killdeer nests. They're in the same family with plovers, but they have some differences. If you look at some of the field guides or just look online, just type in killdeer compared to plover and you'll see kind of what the differences are there. Killdeer a little bit taller looking, they're a little bit bigger bird, but they look very similar in general. So yeah, I would guess that's probably what they're seeing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then let's see here. Is there a snowy plover protection program near Cambria? I've seen the signs posted near the beach, but not seen protective fencing.
Yeah, so that's kind of handled with the same folks who monitor the Morro Bay sites. They kind of take on monitoring other pocket beaches like you're talking about further north before you get a lot further north towards like the San Francisco Bay area. And I don't know the specific numbers, but it's very off and on in terms of nesting or not nesting. You might only get a nest every couple of years in a pretty large area over there. And it's a lot of pocket beaches. And so yeah, it's not as closely monitored, but the monitoring they have done there kind of shows that the few nests that are ever found, they don't see much in terms of productivity there. But yeah, there's not a lot of space, a lot of smaller pocket beaches. And like I said, there's just not a lot known besides the limited monitoring they do.
Okay, let's see what's next. So wait, you got a lot of fans in here, Ryan. Okay, is it odd for nesting in such an open area? Do many birds do this?
No, I mean, plovers like these open areas. They kind of, they like kind of to be in a protected area, but also an area they can see a lot of flat open grounds. They can kind of see predators coming and stuff. Other, terns are nesting in these open areas. We get a lot of other species nesting out on our property, even that aren't under the same protection levels. Like we have horned larks and different doves and things that nest out on the beach. So yeah, it's not just plovers and terns doing it. There's a lot of birds using this ecosystem.
Okay. And then here's another question that just popped in. Could you take us out to observe them sometime?
So you can reach out to our staff, and I don't know if Mallory, you ever field those calls in the past, and they could kind of work it out with us, with my boss. We do ride along sometimes, so just depending on what the request is, we can accommodate. So yeah, just kind of depends. I'm not sure whose contact to give there though.
Well, I will put my email address in the chat. Do you think that would be okay? And then if that was something someone was interested in, reach out through my email and then I'll take it from there. Right?
Yeah, maybe, yeah, Joanna would probably be a good contact for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Maybe contact you and then you can contact Joanna for it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, let me type that in real quick. Make sure I didn't spell it wrong.
There are certain times of year that are better to view depending on what you want to see. So if you're just looking for wintering flocks, that's really easy to do in the winter even, but nesting's just about over right now. So you kind of have to, if we're able to show you guys nesting birds, that's got to happen more between March and usually March, and I'd say September or August even is about the latest you want to do there.
Okay. And I haven't seen anything else pop in here, Ryan. So I think you got through all the questions. Oh, wait. Okay. Are you reading these, Ryan? Everyone really enjoyed the presentation.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate everyone enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a lot of information, I know, but we're kind of hoping we had it laid out in a way that made it easy to learn everything, and hopefully a fun way to present. So yeah, thanks for everybody for joining. I enjoyed presenting to you guys.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ryan. This was a blast.